Okay, we have a very exciting guest who I am already so excited to speak more with because before we hit record, we started to kind of talk about what she's passionate about. And I was just like, this is too good. We can't miss it. We got to hit record now. So I want you guys to welcome Malia. She's an intuitive healer, an erotic embodiment coach, and she also has a really amazing apothecary you need to look into. So you guys will get all of her details, official house of healing, but we are going to get to learn so much from her. So I just want to thank you, Malia, for being here today,
Yes, of course. I'm really excited. As I was telling you, this is my first podcast interview, so
which is
it's an
wild.
honor.
Y'all, she has so many amazing videos and like resources. So, I'm really excited. I feel like this is the first of many, you being a guest on a podcast. So I'm so glad
Oh,
to be here with you. So, I went through a healing journey, which we're all going through it. And I've shared about it on the podcast before. I called it like hot girl healing, but really it
yes.
broke me down and it was very surprising things that came out of it. So I would love to hear a little bit more about like when you think of like an intuitive healer and what you're helping people with, like what can that look like in different ways? I know that's a very like blank, like huge question, but when you think about everything that
Yeah.
you're doing, like what are you passionate about helping people do?
So really, it all boils down to what people are wanting to experience out of life. As a coach, I pretty much help people work through like their sexual traumas. I help people work through just traumas in general, honestly. But it's more so about teaching people how to use their sexual energy to heal and expand, mind, body, and soul. A lot of people think sexual energy is just something that's solely for pleasure, and it's like no, like it's a magnetic energy. It's a creation energy. Like it's the literal creation of God, source divine, whatever you believe in. And when you're accessing that energy, there's portals, there's just so many things that you can open yourself up to receive, experience, release, all of the things. So that's the thing that I'm really most passionate about is just helping people kind of put the two together and understanding that like as a whole being, if I'm accessing this energy, this innate energy, I want to access it at 100%, not just from a surface level.
Mm. That is powerful. And it's something I'm working to learn more about because, I just turned 30 years old and I still feel like I am having to learn more about my own, you know, sexual energy and the power behind it. Cause I think for so long I was associating shame with
Mhm.
any kind of sexual energy. And that just comes from like a religious upbringing and kind of breaking away from that. And, having to get more in touch with it and making it a personal thing too. Like it can be, very much a personal thing as much as, connecting with other people as well. And so you mentioned kind of like healing and using sexual energy to heal. That's something that like I had not really thought about for a long time. So could you talk a little bit more about like what that can look like or just the benefits of focusing on, your sexual energy in your healing journey?
Yeah. So essentially, when you start to become more intentional with your sexual energy, and when I say intentional, I'm more so meaning really coming to the table with the things that you want to work on, just whatever the case may be. And when you're coming to the table with that, when you allow that energy to just kind of accumulate and just form within your body, it begins to open up different energetic channels within you. And that energy begins to flow, begins to move, begins to manifest. And when you're in that energy and you have those intentions set, your body is able to, once it's opened up, your body is able to start releasing trauma. Your body is able to expand itself. Your body is able to begin functioning at the rate and level that it's supposed to be. A lot of the hangups and things that we experience when it comes to sex, sexuality, all of that is like buried within our bodies, and it just becomes gunk. It just becomes this stagnant energy, and we walk around wondering why our lives are unfulfilled, why we aren't experiencing full pleasure in and outside the bedroom, like all the things. And it's all because of our energetic makeup from the inside. So when you start to use this energy in its full capacity, you're able to give your body a chance to heal. It's more than just an orgasm. Orgasms are healing,
Mhm.
super healing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. And with with that and seeing it as a healing process and seeing it beyond, pleasure is a beautiful thing, but beyond just pleasure and creation, I just think that's so It's just such an empowering take that I don't think I had ever seen, and it's something that I see you embarking on helping other people see is just, like, their empower and their ability to create that power and harness that power, and that's just so beautiful. I'm curious kind of, like we'll get more into, like, how to access that, I would love to talk about that more, but
Yeah.
just, because, I've kind of been on my own journey and kinda coming back to myself and embracing where I'm at, I'm
Mhm.
curious if, like, what kinda helped you get to where you are? I know it's a big question because 'cause we've all had long stories, but, like, was there something that helped kind of free you in order to embody this, in order to really step into that sexual energy? Like, I would love to hear a little bit more about your story, your background, if you're open to it.
Yeah, of course. So, in full transparency, I'm a very sexual being, and I feel like I've always been that way for as long as I can remember. Sex has always been the thing on my brain.
Mhm.
And I know that can sound a little unsavory, to certain people, but it's just like that's the number one thing I've always been curious about. That's been my thing. That's been my zhuzh. And it was actually a few years ago I started to really understand, like within my sexual encounters, that like something was missing. Like it wasn't, it may have been pleasurable, but there was just always something that made me feel off. I started to once walk away from something that felt very empowering, feeling defeated, feeling almost robbed of in a sense.
Ooh.
And once you start to learn what happens when you give your sexual energy away and you start taking on other people's energy, it can create those type of emotions and feelings. So I then just kind of went on this path of just trying to figure out like, why is this a huge thing for me? Like, what do I do with this? I feel like I've always had a lot of like misplaced sexual energy and just I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the resources to figure out what to do. So I ended up starting exploring like tantra healing and going to like different retreats and just meeting people, and that just kind of like snowballed into a spiritual awakening on top of awakening on top of awakening. And I've just been rolling with it ever since. A lot of the pieces kind of came together for me once I was able to understand what I was actually doing with my sexual energy.
Mm. Yeah, I just feel like there's such little education out there, and it's like we're not really sure what's going on. We don't really recognize our power. We're almost being told that we're not powerful, especially
Yeah,
not on our own when it comes to our sexual energy. Like if you're not pouring in that sexual energy into someone else, then it's not powerful. Whereas I
right.
see the way that you speak about it, and it's such an empowering way. And I think that that's really, it's just so healing to me to hear because I think I went from the mindset of like sex was bad, you're not supposed to have sex outside of marriage. And it kind of, seeped into any kind of, getting more connected with my own body, getting
Mhm.
connecting to other people. But I think your approach, because my desire on the other end of things was to rebel and do the opposite of like, okay, well, now instead of being the purity culture, I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. But you
Right.
come back to intention. So I'm curious, like, did that with your story, did that kind of happen with you where you were like realizing, wait, I need to come back to the intention here? Or like, what was the little like light bulb that went off for you?
Yeah, cause like, I didn't really see myself, like, going off on, like, the other side of the spectrum, but it was just kinda like, I'm not like, excuse my French, but I'm not fucking properly. Like, something is missing, like, I just felt so incomplete. I really did. That's, like, the best way to describe it. Like, it didn't matter the experience, it didn't matter how great it was. I just always walked away feeling miserable.
Mm.
And I was just like, "I have to figure this out." Like, have to figure it out.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people can probably relate to that feeling of like leaving some sort of sexual encounter or just in general of just not feeling complete. And I notice a lot of times in society, we're being taught, well, then you're just with the wrong person, or,
Mhm.
this is the wrong relationship, or blah, blah, blah. And maybe that is
Mhm.
partially the case. But I've kind of started to realize personally in my own journey, like I had to, reconnect with myself. I had to find self love and be able to actually embrace that because it didn't matter
Yeah.
who I was with. It was truly like my own relationship with myself. And is that something
Yeah.
that like you agree with, or you have anything, thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with the fact that you have to start with self. Sexual energy or not, anything related to you, your desires, whatever the case may be, it's always going to start with self. Self is home. And how you are on the inside and what you have going on is going to reflect in your reality and the experiences and the people that you meet and the encounters that you have. So it's
Mm,
really important. And I always stress, like, if you're on this journey to figure out, your sexual energy or just figuring out yourself, do it solely for you.
mhm,
Do it for you. It's not for your partner. It's not for anyone external. It is solely for you because at the end of the day, that is your energy. And the more you're able to understand it and know what to do with it and just form a relationship with it, you'll find yourself operating differently outside of sexual situations. It changes everything.
it's I could not agree with that more. I talk about, like, getting confidently and comfortable going naked, and a lot of times it throws people off, like, "What do you mean go naked?" And I'm like, "No, I mean,
Yeah.
like, getting vulnerable with yourself," and it goes beyond just the bedroom. It goes beyond just that physical relationship with yourself. It's like in every other facet of your life, how are you showing up? And I do think it starts with that, and that's where that sexual healing that you've talked about and the sexual energy is so powerful, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't fear it. We shouldn't run away from it. We should really step into it. Ooh, you said something that just gave me chills. You said, "Self is home."
Hmm.
And when you said that, I was like, that is so true. And I think it's something a lot of us forget or disconnect from. I remember for a while when I was trying to feel more comfortable in my skin, I was disassociating with my body. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so much more than my body. So I kind of just stopped even taking note of my body. I was like, I'm just gonna ignore it, only focus on the mind. And I got very in my head. That's what the end was. And so I had to kind of reconnect with my body. I'm curious if you've helped some clients through that. And if you did, like, what were some things that you did that helped them kind of step into their body again and really come back to self, come back to home?
Yeah, all the time. The main thing with that is really just cultivating space for my clients to become comfortable with dropping into their body, with coming back to home, coming back to center. And it honestly, it starts with a mindset shift. It really does start with the mind. You can't just wave a wand and it's like, oh, I'm more connected to my body. No, like you have to every day practice to turn your mind off and turn your body on. Start spending more time with your body, start listening to your body, have conversations with yourself, your womb, your yoni, your breast. Like, talk to your body and ask, what is it that I need? What is it that's missing? What is going on? And your body will always respond. We just don't always listen. So you have to get back into that practice and that routine. And that's the number one thing. And that really starts again with self. I can tell you all day, I can show you, we can have all the healing sessions in the world. But if you aren't practicing that, outside of meeting with me, then it's really not going to get you anywhere.
Mhm. That's always the most important thing for people to realize is, like, even if you do invest, in a coach and someone that's gonna help you through this, that's powerful, but it's you that's unlocking that within yourself. You already have it
Exactly.
within you, which is what I know that you're speaking on when it comes to that type of empowerment. So, I love that you said, dropping into your body more and speaking with it, connecting with it. Sometimes I think people feel weird about they, like, just don't necessarily understand what that can look like, and if that
Hmm.
really is just, like, talking to your body. So,
Yeah.
if someone were, you know, they're feeling very disconnected right now, and they're like, "Well, yeah, I wanna drop into my body. I wanna do, like, some first steps." Like, what would be, like, the first thing you would tell them to try or to do?
I would tell them to touch themselves, hug yourself. Like, literally find sensual ways to connect to your body. If it's a hug, if it's masturbation, whatever the case may be, start with the physical touch because that, your body's going to always respond to that. And from there, start maybe doing mirror work. Start working on, affirmations to make you feel more comfortable with your body and really just giving yourself that grace. And because it's not easy, because when we start to work and heal and just do all the things for us, the good, bad, and the ugly sometimes will surface. And you have to give yourself grace in all of those processes to really make sure that you are connecting back to your body. Because there's no point in doing that if you're going to then shame yourself for the past or whatever may happen. You have to have that grace as well and kind of reparent yourself in a way and know that, like, it's okay.
Mm. Just the phrase, "It's okay," like, being able to tell yourself that and give yourself the space to just be. Whatever
Yeah.
comes up in that is just so freeing. I remember that. So, I would love to say to for you to tell people exactly what mirror work is. I've done mirror work, but when
Mhm.
when you say mirror work, just for the listeners, like, what
Yeah.
is that specifically?
Yeah, so mirror work essentially is you just standing in front of a mirror, sitting in front of a mirror, and just allowing yourself to gaze at yourself. Allow yourself to really take yourself in your full divinity, your full essence, your full everything. It's really like the ultimate act of like self acceptance because it's a direct reflection of who you are, and it's really just sitting with that and having compassion for yourself, extending grace for yourself, having those tough conversations with yourself, motivating yourself, hype yourself up. It's really all about speaking to yourself as if you were your best friend. The same way you hype up your besties, your boo, all of that, you have to bring that home into self. And mirror work is a really good way to do that.
I love it so much. So, I had done mirror work for the first time this past summer, actually.
Mhm.
And I talk to my clients about how easy it is for us to just dodge the mirror. Like we get out of the shower, we cover up, we immediately are dodging the mirror, we're getting
Mhm.
dressed, we're hiding. It's just this constant feeling of like needing to hide ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it can be really scary to be in front of the mirror. And so it's one of those things where maybe at first it freaks you out. So I tell people like maybe, and I would love to hear any tips from you, but like turn on some music. Like you mentioned, like
Yeah.
have a dance party with your bestie. Okay, well then let's turn on some of our favorite music and have that going. Or, I just like sat with myself and just told myself, like you said, give myself grace, whatever comes up, comes up. And even to a point where, I've helped so many people, stuff still came up, but I didn't
Yeah.
need to shame myself for it. And that sounds
Right.
like that's what you're telling people. That's so powerful. So was that something you did and it's just been really helpful? Do you still do it even though
Yeah.
you've gotten more
Oh,
connected? Like, what are the things that
I,
you've still
girl,
been doing? Yeah.
I love when I say I love being in the mirror, I know that probably sounds vain, but I love it. I
I
never
love
miss
it.
an opportunity to look at myself in the mirror because regardless of what I've been through, regardless of what's currently going on, I love me, and I'm not upset at the reflection that I see because I faced myself. I've
Mm.
seen it all. I've experienced it all with me. So, it's something that I feel like I've always innately done, but I never really realized how intentional I was with it until I actually started my spiritual journey and started really putting those pieces together. Because, like you said, it's creating the vibe. So put on something that makes you feel good, comfortable, sexy, like whatever energy you're trying to embody in that moment. Dress for the occasion. Put on music. Get roses, flowers, whatever you need to do to create that safe space for yourself. Give it to yourself.
Yes. Oof. This is so good. And it's so freeing to tell people like, hey, like I still do this. Like this still helps me. And
Mhm.
um that right there tells you that like we're constantly pouring into ourselves. It's not like,
Yeah.
Malia's sitting here like, okay, I'm done with my journey. I feel fully connected to myself. My sexual energy is on point, so I'm done. Like we're constantly working on it, right? Is that
Right.
something that you're definitely doing the work and showing up that way? And I really appreciate you just showing up authentically as who you are. I
Yeah.
think that that's so important. And the idea of tapping into that sexual energy and using it as a way to heal. I do have a question that I know I've had clients ask me before, so
Mhm.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. And it has to
Yeah.
do with like when you are on a healing journey,
Mhm.
let's say you are currently with a partner. Is this something where you feel like you need to fully disconnect in order to heal, or you feel like it can be something that happens in tandem with relationship, or there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just very curious on
Yeah.
your perspective.
I think it really just depends on the relationship. If you're with someone who is aware of themselves, you guys are really on the same level as far as healing and progression. I think that that's a great space to be in. And, as long as your partner is giving you that space to cultivate this healing for yourself, that's amazing. But on the opposite end, if you're in a not so healthy relationship, that can be very damaging to your journey. So I think it's where you have to really assess for yourself what you have going on and if that's truly a safe space for you. Because if it's not, then you're really not going to make much progress.
Great advice. I think that's perfectly said. So I'm really glad that we could speak on this and just the idea of fully embodying yourself. And I just think you're so amazing at that. I love everything that you do.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
absolutely
you.
just in love. Y'all need to go like binge watch all her videos and everything. But seriously, it's amazing. And I want you to kind of share like just personally on your journey. I ask people this at the end of the podcast is like, when it comes to being confidently and comfortable and growing, like what is something that you are stepping into and growing that like you're excited about, but it might be a little bit outside your comfort zone, or you're just like, it's going to take you stepping into it in order to make it happen.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like there's always been this not necessarily an alter ego, but I feel like there's always been a version of myself that I've only either let myself see or just like, partners. It's been a very, exclusive type of energy. And I'm now understanding that that energy isn't separate from who I am. That's a huge part of me. And, I can't come on a platform and talk about being authentic and being unapologetic if I'm not embracing every aspect of myself. So it's right now, I'm really just exploring this sexual being that I am and allowing myself to really allow that to blossom and to not be afraid of that and to, represent who I am, express myself the way that I want to and how I present and how I come off. And it's been a little rocky, but I've been really just enjoying that journey. I actually recently started taking like pole dancing classes, and it's just doing all of the things that I've wanted to do and just created excuses for myself around. And it's like, why? Why? I have to practice what I preach. So let me go out here and shake some ass. Let me wear what I
Yes.
want to wear and let me just be this divine being that I am because
Mm,
who I was born to be.
yes. Oh, I can relate to that so much because it's very easy for us to hide behind even just the other part of ourselves because it is really vulnerable. But at the end of the day, like you got to connect with yourself and that's so
Mhm.
important. So you essentially like allowed space for yourself to grow and discover. Do you feel like it was what helps you do that? Like is it being more curious? Is it putting yourself out there, trying new things? Like what are the things that are helping you continue to grow deeper in this journey for you?
I think the biggest thing was just understanding that the level of fed up I was with my current life and just certain circumstances. And I sometimes talk about sacred rage, and when you feel like your back is against the wall, like that's where you go deeper, you do something with that energy. And I think for me, I was just at that point where I was just fed up with everything. Everything was just unsavory, and I was like, no, I don't want this. I'm saying no to all of these things, and I'm going to start saying yes to the things that I once was saying no to.
Mm,
The restrictions that I was placing on myself, no more. The
mm,
experiences that I was, you know, not even allowing myself to have, no more. And really just putting myself in safe spaces where I could actually begin to start thriving.
mm. Yes. Okay. So environment, check. So definitely making
Yes.
sure you're in a safe space, giving yourself grace, beautiful. Coming back to yourself in some way. I think that's so amazing. I do want to come back to this. You sparked my curiosity.
Yeah.
Sacred rage. So you
Mhm.
have spoken on it. So obviously we can educate ourselves, but with this emotion, I think sometimes rage and anger, especially in like toxic positivity world, we can be like, don't have those feelings, right? Like just
Mhm.
shift them, just be positive. And so
Yes.
I've talked about just embracing that emotion and like facing it and like allowing it, but I'm super interested in how you position a way of sacred rage. So if you could hit on that more, I would absolutely love that.
Yeah. So sacred rage is just again, it's that energy where your back is against the wall. It's where your body, it's almost as if like your body begins to almost cry from the inside out. It's that anger that you can't put words behind. It's that anger that just makes you want to destroy everything around you. And when you start to feel that, versus letting it, simmer and just letting it sit within us, you have to start really sitting with it a little deeper and finding out what the root of the anger is and start making those changes. It's really just as simple as that. But the thing is
Yes.
again, giving yourself the grace and permission to make those changes. Because we
Mm,
can be angry about things all day, every day, but if we're not willing to step out there on faith and try to, strive for something different, it's just, it's a waste. It's
mm,
essentially a waste. And when you get to that point of where your body is just wanting to purge and release, oh
mhm.
my gosh, you have to let your body do it, or else your
Yeah.
body will begin to shut down.
Yeah. Oh
And,
my
we can't
gosh.
have that.
No. Yeah, our body will respond like that. I'm so glad you hit on this because but coming back to sacred rage, I think about as a kid, that having a temper tantrum and being punished for that and never
Hmm.
actually like getting to the root of it, like you mentioned. And so
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful just practice to be able to actually step into it in a way that of like, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Because I do think that the quick reaction is for us to just like stifle it and just be like,
Hmm.
okay, don't be angry. Like just stop being
Hmm.
angry. And you said we bottle it up and it definitely comes out in our bodies. I've
Yeah.
felt that anger in my body before. And so um ways to release it. I'm curious. So you said kind of just feel it. Is there anything else that like has helped you step into that to really I guess feel your emotions deeper or allow that space? Just any advice you would give someone as we're starting to kind of close out here.
Yeah, when it comes to releasing your anger, honestly, if you can find a way to release it physically, mentally, emotionally, all the leaves, it covers it across the board. So physically could look like, you going for a workout, or like prime example, I went to a rage room recently and I just let it all out, and that was a safe way to release that anger. Emotionally could be writing it down, speaking about it, just finding healthy outlets for you to let it go, for you to express it, for you to allow it to transform and cultivate and create space for the change that's triggering the anger to begin with.
Oh, what a cool way to reparent yourself. And if you guys do have kids and you're listening, like that's a great way to
Yes.
re-listen to this and have your kids in mind, but I'm really thinking of myself because like, that's definitely something when it comes to reparenting, like, how can I have create a safe space in order to actually fully have these emotions? And so,
Mhm.
I just think the work that you're doing is so powerful, and I wanted to say thank you, and
Yeah.
just I'm excited for your message to continue to grow and get out there. How could someone work with you if they're like, "Okay, everything that Malia is talking about, like, I need to go deeper." Like, what way could they work with you?
Yeah, so I do offer one-on-one coaching, and that can be accessed through, my website. Of course, my social media handles have all that info on there. I'm actually working on group coaching right now, so that's something that's going to be coming out within the next couple of months. So that's another way. And of course, just connecting with me socially, because I talk about this all day, every day. But yeah, those are the ways to work with me.
Yes, awesome. So y'all definitely look in the show notes. You can connect with Malia. Um, like I said, all of your content is just really powerful. So you guys definitely
Yeah,
starting there. I wanted to thank you for being here today. I'm so
of
appreciative of
course.
you and just can't wait for people to get to hear this episode. So I appreciate everything
Oh,
you've done. Thank you,
thank
Malia.
you. Thank you. This was an honor.
Yes, awesome. All right, y'all, go follow her. Make sure that you reach out if you have any of your biggest takeaways from this episode, because I know I already have some big ones. And we would love to hear from you, but we'll see you on the next one.